Remember when I was demonstrating these and I said, for example, that A major 7 in the previous lesson, I said we're way down in bass clef. Remember that middle C is right here. So when you're below that, you're down in bass clef, right? So the guitar down here is pretty low register. And that means that these intervals can get murky. Well, let's look at diagram 2. We're going to take those same second intervals, major and minor seconds, out of the key of E, but we're going to view them on our oddball string set. Oddball in the sense that it's the only pair of strings you have that are tuned a major third apart. Okay? That means 4 frets apart instead of 5. So look at diagram 2. Now I've already explained how you're going to take this information and roll with it, right? So I'm going to be quick about this. I now look at diagram 2 and I have, oh, this is pretty cool. I'm starting to hear these sound. And it's starting to make some sense because I know it's going to be a major second interval between all the scale degrees except which ones? 3 and 4, 7 and 8. Well, it so happens that I know the names of the notes on the guitar. And if you don't, I encourage you to do that. Meaning, if you ask me, what note is this? I'd say G sharp. And it also so happens that if you ask me, well, what is that if I'm playing over a B bass? I know it's a 6 or a 13. What is it over F sharp? I know it's a 2 or a 9. And so it's important that you get to the point where you have all this stuff memorized. It's a lot of information, but you just systematically chipping away every day, learning something, memorizing it, and reviewing, making sure you know this, because you don't want to be stalled in your music, meaning you're playing along, and all of a sudden you can't analyze something, or you don't see it, or you can't play it. So if you got technical problems, you got to work on your chops. If you got theory problems, you got to work on your brain. If you got ear problems, you got to work on stretching your ears and ear training to hear things. But anyway, enough of the pep rally here. So I'm playing these structures. I'm going to play them over the E bass. They're a little easier on the ears. Why is that? I'm playing the same intervals, but I'm not as low in pitch. I'm getting up. I'm from middle C on up. I'm starting here. I've got A and B, so C's right in between there. So it cleans it up. Now, on this course, I've demonstrated, or I'm going to demonstrate, all these chord scales on the top 4 strings of the guitar, top in terms of pitch. You don't need to worry about them on the bottom 2 strings, and in reality, you're going to deal with these groups of the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd string as one cluster, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th string as another cluster. But now we're just working on these building blocks, these intervals. So you know what to do with this. Those are the seconds on the 3rd and 2nd strings, so make sure that you can play these and that you also can do things like this. If I play that B and that C sharp right there, I need to know those same notes are right here on another string group. That's just knowing your fingerboard, okay? All right, so you heard them over the first jam track. Let's see what they sound like over this one. So that's over the Dorian mode, right? Because we got the F sharp in the bass. Let's hear it over Phrygian. Now, you may not be able to hear this. And I've got to say this because I have a lot of courses out. I think right now it's 80, 81, something like that. And I did a whole series of these chord studies. And one of them was Modal Structures. I forget the exact title. But I talked about these chordal structures, which we're going to get into. And one of the comments was a guy said, well, it seems like you're playing the same thing, and it'd be nice if I could hear how it functions differently. Well, he's not listening closely because it is functioning differently. You have to hear it against the bass note. So hopefully this course, I'll have to send the guy a free course so he can get squared away and I can help him out. But you have to hear these against the bass notes. If you're just playing this stuff and you're not critically listening, you're missing out on this seed principle, where learning a group of chords out of a chord scale serves you in these different tonalities, okay? So I just wanted to address that because I don't want the same thing to happen here. Somebody says, well, he's playing the same thing, so what's going on? I'm paying for them to play the same thing over and over again. But because of the bass note, it's not the same thing. That's the critical thing. So now we're playing over the A bass, which puts us in the A Lydian. Different sound, right? Now we're in B Mixolydian. Now C sharp Aeolian. Now that bass, when I did this track, I knocked the bass down an octave, so it's pretty low, it's pretty murky in there. If you're having a hard time hearing that, make yourself a jam track where you're just going, where you're just pumping out a C sharp power chord. Record that and play these voicings against it. All right, so there you have your approach for taking these major and minor second intervals on the third and second strings and applying them all over the neck. The final thing I want to talk about here is that now you have the tools to start building some three-note clusters. We're going to go there, but these are the building blocks. So spend some time so you can see these shapes and you don't get lost. But that being said, you're going to get lost because you're going to have to see this information in this long diagonal line, which is not the typical way to see information on the guitar. So what does that do for you? Make you a little better guitar player? No, make you a better musician because you'll have access to these close voicings. What we're playing are close voicing chords. Structures where on the piano is just adjacent keys. They're a breeze to play on the piano. For us, we're going to have to do some long stretches or throw open strings in or use some different approaches, or indeed we may not even be able to play it in the lower part of the neck. It'll only serve us in the higher part of the neck. But it's information, and don't you want to have access to all of it?